Welcome to the Wolf Mother Podcast. My name is Dana Harkis. As always, we will begin by taking 3 deep breaths. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose, softly out of the mouth. Deep breath in again through the nose, out of the mouth. Last time, all the way in and back out. Today's topic is basically going to be a coaching session between you and I, and what I want to focus on, the idea of focusing on this, is your future self, is future you, right? And how we can set ourselves up for success in the present, because the you that sits here today and that makes decisions for you today impacts the you of tomorrow. Super duper important. So this topic basically came up because the last few months, Dylan and I have been going really deep, diving into the science behind neuroplasticity, rewiring the brain, rewiring the subconscious. If you are a part of our community, you've heard me say, if you have any scientific questions, go ask Dylan. I'm the spiritual one, but Dylan knows all the science. But I've really enjoyed getting to have the opportunity to dive deeper into scientific evidence that shows that we are in control as much as we can be in our lives. Because the reality is, as we also know, people are born into certain life circumstances, situations, systems of oppression that exist in this world. But maybe placing that to the side for a moment, we also have ownership over our lives, and we can dictate as best as we can, right? If you're listening to this and you feel like maybe your mental health is not strong enough for something like this, I don't want you to feel bad about yourself. I'd rather you reach out to me and be like, I was trying to listen to that episode and I might be one of those people where my mental health isn't at that place at that point in time. Because the reality is, I really want you to hear me out on this. I have been at that point in my life many a times where my mental health was not in the place for me to hear that I have ownership over my decisions and I can take, radical ownership and radical acceptance for what's in front of me. And there's no shame in that game. Life is a game of ebb and flow and fucking roller coaster. So if you listen to all of that, let's take a deep breath in together and let it go. The future you. Now, if you have your journal nearby or you're on your phone while you're listening to this, you can pull up the notes app, you can write this in your journal, or you can use these prompts. Basically, you're probably going to pause me a few times throughout this podcast episode, but you can use this as a meditation prompt, because I do have clients that do not like journaling. Like, journaling is it's just not really their source to be able to move with things. And that's totally and completely fucking okay. What a beautiful thing. We're all so different. Yay, celebrating humans. But the first question I want to ask, and the reason why I brought up the neuroplasticity, is because within Dylan and I really getting to understand the science behind neuroplasticity and various other things, we had the opportunity to sit down and, first question, where do you see yourself 20 years from now? Take a deep breath. Let it go. Where do you see yourself 20 years from now? That's the first question that I want to give. You can pause here if immediately you feel a flow of answers coming up and coming towards you. If you are feeling overwhelmed when I say that, I implore you to now listen to the rest of everything that I'm going to say and then pause later on. But if you're not overwhelmed and you're like, fuck yeah, in 20 years, this is what I want to see for myself, see it in your mind or jot that shit down right now. Beautiful. 20 years from now, the world is an ever-changing place. Dream big, dream beautifully. And when you write at the end of it, I got this from a teacher years and years ago, I believe, because I don't think I came up with this. But I've seen it in my journals a lot over the years. You write at the bottom, all this and better. So you fucking brain dump or you imagine it mentally, and then all that and better. Because the reality is, when it comes to how we exist on this earthly plane, sometimes we're like, I think what would be best for me is A, B, and C. And the universe works in a beautiful way that it gives you A, B, C, and E, F, G. And it's better than you could have ever imagined. So beautiful. So now you've written what you want to see in 20 years. You've imagined what you want to do in 20 years. It can be as long or as short as you want it. Boom. Breathe, deep breath in. Breathe out. I almost combined the two words there. And now we're going to go to who you are in 10 years. What do you want to see for yourself in 10 years? Sometimes the 20-year prompt can be a little daunting. Like I said, if 10 years is still daunting for you, do not worry. Do not worry. Just take it as it comes. Write it down. Write out everything you feel. Or you're just going to continue listening to this episode until we really, you'll see in a few minutes. So this is your 10-year self. Who are you in 10 years? What a beautiful thing to ask ourselves. Sometimes it's an overwhelming question. I mean, regardless, it's an overwhelming question, because who the fuck knows what's going to happen in 10 minutes from now? This podcast could never even fucking make it up to any platform, let alone 10 years from now. Deep breath in. Let it go. And now we're going to move on to 5. And I definitely find that for the majority of my clients, the 20-year tends to be small, right? And the 10-year gets a little bit more descriptive. 5-year tends to really get people going, because we all recognize the more that we age, 5 years is not that long of a time. It's not that far out, right? 5 years kind of comes and goes. Again, if you are overwhelmed, maybe you can even skip some of the things that I'm saying. But 5, be as descriptive as you can. And at that bottom again, all this and better, or in your mind, all this and better. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Take a deep breath in. Let it go. Now, for those of you that may feel overwhelmed, I had a conversation with someone where I was asking them these questions, the 5, the 10, and the 20-year. And it was extremely emotionally overwhelming for them. That's okay. Okay? So what we're going to do, if you are extremely overwhelmed, if you're not overwhelmed, you're still going to do the prompt that I'm giving you. But if you're overwhelmed by the 5, the 10, and the 20, I want to kind of talk about that for a second. It is okay to be overwhelmed by what we want for the future. I see people from all different walks of life. So I see people that are big dreamers, that they're like, I can't really imagine what 5, 10, and 20 years is going to hold for me, because my day-to-day changes so quickly, and they have such big dreams, and every day their dreams are expanding and more and more and more. Totally fine. I also see the opposite side of that, where people are like, 5, 10, 20 years, I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow. I can barely wake up in the morning and get the things done that I need to get done. I can't be thinking about stuff like that. I want you to know that is so fucking valid. And that is so fucking real. And that's beautiful. That doesn't mean anything wrong. It doesn't mean anything bad. But what I am going to ask you to do, this is going to be the prompt, okay? Let's take a deep breath before we do that. Let this go. Really sink into your body now, okay? If you've got pains running throughout your body, as I've been talking throughout this episode, I want you to pinpoint it, okay? There's a few things that you can do. You can literally just gently rub your fingertips and the palms of your hands together, okay? That's one thing you can do. You can take your right hand and you can put it underneath your left armpit, and you can bring your left hand to grab across at the top of your right shoulder, and you're gonna kind of just really touch your armpit, touch your shoulder. You can rock back and forth, rock forward and backwards, okay? There are definitely other things you could do if you feel like you have a lot of energy while you're listening to this. I'm going to invite you to then get up. I want you to jump. I want you to jump. I want you to shake. I want you to shimmy. I want you to fucking wiggle and wobble, okay? The you of today may not shape entirely who you are 5, 10, 20 years, because people change, right? And we're constantly in a state of evolution and of change. So I know that that can be overwhelming. So let's make it really nice and simple. And we're going to bring it down to, who are you in a year from now? And when I say who are you, what is the type of person that you want to see for yourself? If you are 30 right now, who do you want to be at 31? That's exactly what I want you to do. Is, where do you live? Do you live in the same place? Is your house decorated differently? Do you have the same friends? Do you have different friends? Do you have the same hobbies? Do you have an interest in other hobbies? What is the type of food that you eat now, and do you want to continue eating that in a year from now? What's your hygiene routine like, right? What's your self-care routine like now? And is this something that you want to carry into a year from now? So I know it seems a little bit tedious to bring it all the way down to a year from now, but at least there's one thing that you can keep in mind as you do the year from now. If you want to be, I'm going to use this as an example. If you want to be fucking shredded the fuck up and super muscular in a year from now, you're going to have to start putting that work forward now. I tend to work with people that I wouldn't necessarily say are trying to get ripped. But maybe you are. For me, I wouldn't say I'm trying to get ripped, but I'm definitely trying to be in better shape than I am now, especially that I live at such a high altitude in the mountains. Doesn't feel so great when I'm walking through my neighborhood and I feel like I'm fucking losing a lung over here. But with that being said, so that is like something that you can see. So you can conceptualize that in your mind. If you want to see your body shredded or super muscular in a year from now, we're going to have to start laying the ground rules now. So I know it gets a little bit more difficult when I work with people in terms of like spirituality. They're like, I want to be more in touch with, the divine feminine and the divine masculine energy within me. That's actually beautiful. We may not be able to see it tangibly. However, what does that mean for you? I want you to write down, if in a year from now you want to be better at meditating, right? Or you want to be more peaceful, or you do want to connect with a divine energy. What does that actually look like for you? Let's get clear on that, okay? And then, what is the type of person? What is the type of person that is peaceful, that has a daily meditation practice? What are they like? What do you think that they are like, right? Then you're going to write those things down. I'm just using these as examples, okay? You're going to write those things down, and then we're going to take it a step further and go, okay, and can I do those things? And something that I'm also going to share, if this isn't, because I feel like my community, if you're listening to this, you probably like meditation or something like that. The dogs are going wild in the neighborhood. What's new? With meditation, if you want to be somebody that has a daily meditation practice and you're super overwhelmed by listening to even a 10-minute guided meditation, I want you to put your phone on a timer for 2 minutes, and you don't even have to fucking close your eyes down at first. But I want you to start there. Every day you put on a 2-minute timer, you put your phone down, and you just take a soft gaze at something in front of you. And then your phone timer goes off and you start to realize, wow, that's how long 2 minutes of a silent meditation in my own mind would be. But that's where we start today, right? And you, a year from now, will have something different to feel, something different to offer. So I hope that this is helpful. You don't have to look at your 5, 10, 20-year plan, although I think that's a really beautiful thing because it can be extremely helpful. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're seeing one of the dogs come hang out. So a little bit of love from one of the dogs in the area. But with that being said, it's good to simplify things. It's good to bring things all the way to the base. Because if you in 20 years from now, you want to be like the most, relaxed and calm and patient person that you've ever met in your entire life, then we're going to start to, we're not going to start. I don't know what you're going to do, but we want to rather start feeling what that feels like in our everyday life now. So in 20 years from now, those things get a little bit easier. So thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. I hope that this is helpful. I really love working one-to-one with people. And I feel like it creates such a beautiful energy when we get to dive into who you are as a person, because who you are is going to differ from the person next to you, and the way that you guys get to your end goals is going to be different. So if you're interested in working together, I do have spots available to work with me. You can check that out on my website with the links in the description. And if you have any other questions, I would love for you to drop them on whatever platform you're listening to, or you can just head over onto YouTube if that's easier for you as well. Give me your reflections on how this practice goes for you. What comes up for you? What is your body experience? What does your mind start to think? And most importantly, what does your heart feel as you write these things down for the future? Many, many blessings to you and to yours, and I'll see you all soon.